Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. If you want to learn how to support the channel and its mission to normalize atheism and deconversion, stay tuned to the end of the video. Today I'll be continuing to look at our lists of things Jim Palmer, a former megachurch pastor, says that the religious establishment does not want you to know in kind of our series here, Seeing Behind the Religious Curtain. Today we're looking at number 7. And Jim Palmer writes, nobody is born Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Catholic, Protestant, etc. People are born human and are slowly conditioned by the narratives of race, religion, gender, nationality, etc. to be less than human. This goes to the age-old question, and Palmer's very right here. It's the question of the truth value of religion. Every once in a while on this channel I'll get somebody saying, well, you just didn't have the right Christianity. And my response is, the only reason you think, one of my first responses is, how do you know that? Because I always ask the question, well, how do you have the true Christianity, the true religion? Because a theist usually always wants me to get into discussion of, like this week I had it, this person asked me, what does it mean by repentance? I don't care. You claim to have the true religion. On what basis do you have it? Why should I have a discussion about repentance, salvation, or anything, unless you can prove to me that your religion is the true one? Prove to me that your religion is the true one, and we can have those other discussions. But to me, there's no real point in discussing all those things until you have proven your claim that you have the true religion. Okay, and until you've done that, I don't really feel the need for discussion. But the other thing is that I would say also, the only reason you think it's the true religion is because your culture, society, and religious society told you that it's the true religion and you accepted that. It's more about being accepted by your society, what religion you are, than the actual truth of the religion. If I or any of you were born in India, we would probably end up Hindus. If we were born in Tibet, we would have ended up probably Buddhists. If we were born in Saudi Arabia, we become Muslims. Okay, if you're born in Italy or some other heavily Catholic country, there's probably a good bet you'll be Catholic. I'm born in America, so there's a lot of religious diversity, so there's different pocket cultures in America of different religions that are considered to be the truth. Now, there's this overarching Christianity that kind of took over in the early days and continues to stick around, so there's a little bit of element of Christian culture in every religion that we do. But the point is, we learn our religion, we learn our narratives on race, gender, nationality, and religion from our culture, from our parents, from our clans, from the part of society that we want to belong to. And those things condition our attitudes about life and everything to the point where we accept the religion based on the truth of it. Now, a lot of counter to the atheist is, well, you wouldn't have been an atheist if you hadn't been born in the Western world where it's allowed without persecution. And I said, well, thank you for making my point again. Okay, that this is more about cultural conditioning. It's more about societal conditioning. It's more about familial conditioning than it is about truth. Okay, and assessing the truth of something. Religion is one of the great ways of social lubrication that can allow you to feel accepted in a society. And by accepting that culture's religion, you can gain a lot of points in that culture's eyes. For instance, if I were to go to South America, revert to either my Pentecostal days or convert to a Catholic, and also learn Spanish, the locals, the Latin, South American culture would start to accept me more because I am taking in elements of their culture into me. And part of that would be my conversion to, say, back into Pentecostalism or into Catholicism, because both of those religions are pretty heavy in Latin America. If I were to go to Saudi Arabia and, learn Arabic and also become a Muslim, the Muslims there would come to accept me more because it's about social lubrication. Religion is about social lubrication, which always brings up the question, what value is it? That's pretty much it. Okay, when you really get down to it, that's its own pragmatic value. A lot of people say, oh, well, people do a lot of good through religion. Do people do good in the name of religion, or does the religion make them good? Is a real good question, because I don't think it's the second. Okay, I think what happens is people are just good people and they do good things, and just because they put the religious, slap the sticker on, somehow the religion gets credit for that. Okay, because good works, it's like Muslims can claim good works, Christians, Jewish people, Buddhists, Hindus, everybody claims good works as proof of their religion, but because everybody does it, it's really not that good of a proof. And so where do the good works come from? Well, it seems that regardless of the religion, you can do good works in it. So does the religion cause that, or is it just a place or avenue, a socially acceptable avenue where good works are done? So religion isn't really doing anything good there either. In fact, I would argue that if it was out of the way, we might actually be able to do some more good. But this brings up the question of truth, doesn't it? Because every time, because when you're deconverting, one of the heaviest pressures upon you is that, my biggest issue in coming out of Christianity was, would I be socially accepted by my society anymore? Would I be socially accepted by my family anymore? Would I be socially accepted by a lot of other things? Because the one thing religion inherently does is it reinforces tribalism. Okay, it absolutely pulls you into that religious tribe and reinforces it. Now, all the other things that Palmer mentioned do the same thing, like nationalism, being patriotic or not being patriotic. How you see it in the United States all the time, where it's like, what do you mean you don't do this, so you're not a really good American, kind of thing. That's that kind of pressure. Racial pressures. Well, why are you going across the aisle to talk to African Americans and learn about their culture, or Asian Americans, or which is something I do. I like to listen to other people talk because their perspectives are often different. There's several black atheists that I like to listen to because they have a different perspective on atheism and its effect on them than I do. Okay, so it's different because of the culture. Okay, because of the way the culture operates, and then you have all of that pushing on you from the time you're a child, and a lot of what we are is simply a response to be accepted by the greater group, by the tribe. And religion really reinforces that. Nationalism reinforces that. Race reinforces that. All the things that Jim Palmer mentions reinforce that. It's the gender issues. Okay, what we feel about gender. Conditioned by our culture. So with all of that, and there's many other things. We can mention. Those are probably the big four, but there's many others. And so when you reach a point where cultural acceptance isn't the issue anymore, where you have the freedom to choose your religion or not, where you have the freedom to read, to hear discourse, deconverting, you suddenly, when I deconverted, a large part of it was engaging various forms of Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox Christianity, listening, reading their theologians, and realizing that nobody has the complete truth. Everybody might have an element. This is me still as a Christian thinking, well, there must be a true Christianity there somewhere, but I don't think anybody has it. I think everybody has had, because of humanness and, at the time, sinfulness, corruption, whatever I believed at the time. There's going to be something wrong with everybody's theology. There's going to be something wrong with everybody's stuff. And then it just doesn't take much of a leap after that going, well, maybe they're not right about anything. Okay, maybe this is all a societal concoction, because there is that, age-old statement, whether somebody said it or not is irrelevant, but, religion being the opiate of the masses, being that thing that keeps people from revolting, okay, against the upper class, the ruling class. And there's that element of it, too. And so when people ask me what I think religion is from a deconversion standpoint, what we're getting over, it's our cultural conditioning, our religious conditioning. These are the attitudes that our old peer group used to tell us that we needed to have. And now were like, well, I don't accept the basic tenets of the religion anymore, so now I'm an outcast. Okay, and I see this all the time. I saw it today. Today is like, I had this commenter just very recently, like an hour ago, before I sat down to record this. He's going on and on about, you'll revert back to Christianity the closer you get to mortality. Dude, I have had near-death experiences since, not like NDAs where I died, but I've had close calls where I've had brushes with death since I deconverted, and not one of them has caused me to want to go back into the tribe. Okay, because it's not about that, it's about tribal acceptance. Because religion is not inherently true, it's accepted as true by whatever culture you happen to be born in. And this creates a very different view of religion for me, because I look at religion as a parasitical thing. I don't think it's an accident that organized government and organized religion kind of appear at the same time in human history. I find that very interesting, because I think they're two sides of the same coin designed to control people. It's all about control. Okay, you got your rule-making body in the government that has the power to enforce those rules, and then you have religion that creates this, big brother eye in the sky all the time, this moral reinforcement of the rules. I find it always interesting that governmental laws and religious rules tend to, kind of overlap a bit. It's almost like, when you push that. So when you get to a country like the United States, which is the first country, I think, ever in Hall of Human History, maybe I could be wrong about that, but its uniqueness is that, no, we're not going to have religion be a part of this. We're going to separate the government and religion from each other. We're not going to allow religion to have an influence on our government, because there's so many different religions and so many variants of truth. We need to push that aside so a secular government can make decisions that benefit everybody regardless of religion. And I used to have that argument when I was a theist. I would tell people, listen, you've been conditioned to think that if Christianity ruled, it would be better. But we've had many events in history where religion, when it gets too much power, it begins to push things a little bit farther than you want them to. And nobody, absolute power can corrupt very quickly, and religion has had that power, including Christianity, and it hasn't been good for society. So, we go back to the religious question. Okay, well, religion is parasitic. As a deconverted person, you begin to realize, okay, like take something as simple as the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, that's a human secular value. There's nothing inherently religious about that statement. There's no statement about God. There's no statement about creeds or anything. And it appears in every religion. Well, what is that? Well, that's human beings realizing that's a pretty good rule for being a human being. And so every religion kind of parasitically grabs it and pulls it in. And Christianity, Judaism, Muslimism, Hinduism, Buddhism, there's no exception to that rule. They all pull that in. And you'll see that. I think another good example is marriage. If you look at a lot of societies, marriage is still this, one man, one woman thing. Well, why is that? Well, because in a survival situation, that works. Okay, but the farther you get away from survival, the more you realize that the whole societal expectations of marriage, the gender roles in marriage, the gender expectations in marriage are socially constructed. Because once you get passed away from survival and producing children and raising them up, you suddenly realize that a lot of that stuff is just concocted to make sure that happens, and that's just a survival thing. That's an evolutionarily survival trait that we've developed, and all the religions come in and say, yeah, but that was our idea. They steal they take what's normal in human societies, most human societies, and steal it, okay? And I don't consider religion to be anything more than parasitical of a society for that reason anymore, because the whole eye in the sky, somebody's watching you, is gone for a lot of people. Okay, they at least don't live that way in real life. Even if they hold some religious view that God is watching, they very rarely live that way. And that tells me something about religion, that it's all about creating this fear of something beyond the government. And, you can look at that a lot of different ways. As a libertarian, I'm very skeptical of government for the same reasons I'm skeptical of religion. But it's it's an interesting dynamic that this creates. And for those of us deconverting, what comes off, what seeing behind the curtain starts to do for you, is you realize that this isn't, I didn't accept my Christianity necessarily because it was true. I accepted it because it made living in my society easy. Okay? It gave me a moral code. It gave me all this stuff. Whether that code was right or wrong or indifferent didn't matter to me. When you're a child, you have no way to fight that off. Okay? Childhood indoctrination can take place at a lot of levels. It's not just religion. You can indoctrinate people into social views, religious views, cultural views, political views. All indoctrination is, that's why when you're dealing with children, it's more important to, give them the tools to assess things for themselves as they grow up and become teenagers and adults than it is to tell them what to believe and what to think. Teach them how to think, okay? Teach them how to look at things and say, well, is that true? Just be skeptical. So how have I gotten over this? I have to do the hard work of looking at morality from a purely a human perspective, because what he says is so true here about it. All those things make us less than human. I think a good example of this is race. Okay, you can watch little kids that are all different races. You can have on a playground, all these 5-year-olds. Go a little younger. Let's go 2-3-year-olds, because even you can see conditioning in 4 or 5-year-olds. But you'll have an African American kid, a white kid, an Asian American, Hispanic American, all on the same playground and all playing together, and they don't notice anything about the differences in their races. They're just friends. It's the same thing when you get older. It's the peer group, the peer pressure, the desire to glob to people like yourself that begins to create in us these divisions. But little kids don't have that. Okay, they don't have it. They haven't been taught it. And that's kind of what you begin to realize, that you were taught a lot of things that weren't necessarily true, but they did grease the wheels of societal acceptance for you. But what happens in deconversion is we get to a point where, is the society really all that beneficial to me? Okay, when I look at Christianity, it's not that beneficial to me because it didn't ever make me happy. It certainly created a lot of guilt and pressure that I just did not need. The downsides of religion, the downsides of the racial question, the downsides of gender questions and nationality questions begin to add up higher than the benefits at some point. And you have to decide what you're going to do about that. And as I've deconverted, it's been like I've engaged in a lot more skepticism regardless of where the issue comes from, because I think it's healthier to assess whether something is true than whether or not it makes my life easy. You have to do the hard work of being what is your morality and what does it mean to be a moral person? You have to do the hard work of a worldview, which can include atheism, but isn't atheism. Okay, I don't consider atheism my worldview. My worldview is more of a secular humanist, and atheism just happens to be a part of that. My whole issue with atheism on this channel is I shouldn't be looked down upon or thought less of simply because I'm an atheist. And a lot of people still do that. And until that stops, and given that so far the majority of people in the world are still very religious, we have a lot of work to do. Okay, but it's going to get harder and harder to look down at atheists when more of them are your family members, more of them are your neighbors, more of them are in charge of your society, and lo and behold, they still do a good job. Imagine that. And so, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on this. I think Jim Palmer helps us see behind the cultural conditioning. Isn't it amazing that you're born in Saudi Arabia and you're an Islamic person? Isn't that amazing? And you think Islam is the truest thing ever. And all those people in Western America and Europe, they're all going to hell because they don't believe as you do. And isn't it amazing that if you're born in the Bible Belt south of the United States, that whatever form of Southern Baptist you are, that's the truth, and everybody else has the falsehood. And somehow you were so lucky to just be born in the right place that had the right religion, and the right truth. And yeah, it kind of counters that whole idea when you realize that and you see behind the curtain how that's just total BS. Okay, that it's just the fact that you were born there, that's why you believe in those things, and it's not the other way around. You know, that it's suddenly the truth, and it just happens that you were born in a place where the truth was. No, you were born into a place where the religion taught you that the religion was true and never necessarily proved it. It was just easier to believe that because it makes moving in society easier. And that kind of pulls away the curtain of the truth of your religion, and you get rid of it and you deconvert from it, and then you move on with the idea of no, I want to build a society where the human tribe, the whole of us, is important. And that's the stance that secular humanism takes, which is all of us are human, regardless of your religion, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, your nationality. We're all human here, and we need to be moving to thinking about humanity as the tribe and not all the little tribes within humanity. And that becomes a change, and I think it's a positive one. Getting rid of the religion allows you to see it that way. Religion is always going to reinforce the other. You're a different religion, you're a different race, you're a different nationality, you're different genders, okay? And, you know, that's the way it is, and you got to fight for it. And all of that stuff, once you cast it aside, leads to the inevitable conclusion there's only one tribe, the human tribe, and that's what we need to be going for. But that's just my thoughts on this idea by Mr. Palmer. I'd be interested to hear all your thoughts in the comments. It's just an interesting discussion starter, and I'd be very interested to see what all of you have to say. So thank you very much. As promised, you know, how to support the channel? Well, you know, just liking the video, sharing it with your friends, people that would have interest in it, viewing the video. Those are all good things to support us with. You know, if you're interested in something more tangible, the best way to support a channel is membership. Any channel, not just mine. If you really support somebody's content, becoming a member for, you know, whatever they charge. And entry level for me is $2, and of course there's higher levels you want to support the channel more, but becoming a citizen of the Rabyd Nation is that simple, $2 every month, and it helps you, you know, gets you some perks and gets you early access to some videos like this one, because as you probably guessed, I can't be here for a premiere today, and so I had to record this video earlier than normal, and I'm going to drop it on Friday morning probably. It'll just appear Friday morning because I have to be somewhere else at that time. You know, this is the annual time of year for me and Mom to make our pilgrimage to my father's grave and clean it up and remember Dad. So, you know, that's going to be kind of a busy afternoon for me, so no premiere for this Friday video. But, you know, membership is the best way to support this video regardless. So, and then of course there's some links in the description where you can find other ways to support the channel, you know, hopefully soon an Amazon wish list, but also PayPal and other ways. And, you know, always, you know, doing your best to talk about the channel. You know, word of mouth is still a great way to support any content creator, so thank you for that. I want to announce that there is a possibility of an event. You know, we sometimes reschedule, but Tim Mills approached me about an idea of a pastor's panel live to engage questions, and so we're thinking about doing that the 23rd about 10 o'clock. A lot of details haven't been ironed out, but I thought I'd mention that idea to see what some of you think about that. So, you know, there would be me and one other pastor on there at present, and maybe more. I don't want to really go into the details because we've just set the date, but there might be other things happening, so I want to hear what you have to think about that. And of course I want to give a shout out to my members, to my citizens, my Rabyd citizens, to my Tribunes at present. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all your support. Your support allows me to focus on content like this. It's more about deconversion and less about getting the likes and views. So thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate you guys. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around, and then it's over. So make sure you're spending all your time, money, and opportunities on yourself, the people you love and care for, to make this a better world. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.